How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Bill, and this is a Panda Motorworks power module, Panda power module, and we are installing it on the Bronco. Now this is, it's kind of a tuner without being a tuner. I don't know all the technicals. I know it doesn't actually write anything to your ECU. It just kind of overrides the signals that are coming and going to your map sensors, and changes the voltages. So it tunes things without actually writing a tune to your ECU. So if you ever were afraid to take it for warranty, which, yeah, everything else I've done with this thing by now, I'm not too concerned with the warranty, but anybody that is concerned about warranty, you know, it doesn't leave a trace that it's been in there. You could just disconnect it. It hasn't written anything to the ECU or anything like that. So it just comes, and it comes packaged a lot prettier than this, but I've had it open. But it's just some zip ties and brackets so you could put the actual module anywhere that you want, somewhere inside the engine bay where it's out of the way. Then you got a wiring harness, and it's pretty simple. And then it also comes with spark plugs. Now they recommend changing out the spark plugs to one-step cooler spark plugs. To tell you the truth, I don't necessarily understand at all how it works, why it works, or even if it works. But yeah, I like these guys over at Panda Motorworks. They've done a lot of stuff with the EcoBoost previously, with the F-150s and Mustangs and Ford Focuses, and they've done a lot of tuning with this. So it's not like this is their first time messing around with the EcoBoost. They seem to have things dialed in, and they claim to get pretty good boost for horsepower and torque, being just a simple plug-in module that you could pull out anytime. So I'm going to go ahead and do the install here. This isn't something that is sponsored or anything. This is something I saw they were coming out with. I was interested in it. They had a launch discount for the New Year's, for Christmas, that I grabbed. So I did get it at a little bit of a discounted rate, but it wasn't a special rate just for me. It was for anybody that pre-ordered could get it. So I'm gonna see if it's worth it at the discounted price, or if I would recommend it even at the full price. So to get started, I'm gonna have to change out the spark plugs. So I'm gonna do everything how they recommend it. Now, if you have the 2.3, the setup's gonna be a little bit different. You're only gonna have 4 spark plugs instead of 6, but it's basically going to be the same. There's a lot of these little caps that go on the screws that hold all the wiring. So I've got a panel removal tool to help me pry some of them up so I can move wires out of my way. I already did this first one. So now I've come to the second one. You see it's got this big wire bundle, and it's just capped sitting right on top of that post. So what I need to do is kind of pry that up, and I don't want to keep pulling on just wires, so that's why having a little pry tool. And you rip the skin off your finger as part of the process. Now that we got that cap off of there, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the wire harness, which is pull back this plastic tab, and then you can squeeze down on it and take it off. Now I want to take this bolt right here out. Well, it's a stud, not just a bolt, but it's this whole thing will come out. It's 8mm. You'll need a somewhat deep socket to pull that out, so pull that out now. Should be able to pull that out, set it to the side. And now we can pull the whole coil pack out, which I have to kind of move the wire harness out of the way, pull the whole coil pack out, and then pull out the spark plug. That seems over torqued to me. So the torque on the spark plugs when you're tightening them is supposed to be 133 foot-pounds, I believe, or I'm sorry, inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. Don't torque it to 100 foot-pounds. It's 133 inch-pounds, so that's like 11, works out to be about 11 foot-pounds if all you have is a foot-pound wrench, like I do. Just divide by 12 and you get your conversion. So here's the spark plug taken out. Nothing wrong with it. Perfectly fine. It's only got 7,000 miles. So it should be good. And then I'm just replacing it with these supplied NGK. I said they're one step cooler. Recommended if you're running extra boost, like you will be if you're running the module. But even if you have the module disconnected, they're not going to hurt anything by having them in there. It may not benefit you. It's not something that you should go out and change if you're not going to be running power with anything. But if you are, then it's recommended to swap these out. And now, of all the tools I have, a spark plug wrench that fits these is not one I have, so I just put some tape on the inside of my socket, deep socket, to kind of make sure that it's pinched on there, and it's taped to the side, so I'm not actually ripping anything off and leaving it in the engine. So that's that, and then tighten it down with my torque wrench. I said this is only 11 foot-pounds or 133 inch-pounds, so it's not much. It doesn't take much. Jeez, I'm standing on a plastic bucket at an angle, so it keeps trying to slide out from under me. See, yeah. Doesn't take much. That's not much for the torque on those. Then we just set our coil pack back in there, whatever it said. And this is what it looks like. Like I said, it's got this longer threaded part on the top side too, because that's where the wiring harness is and the little I don't know what you would call that officially, but just little wire bundle bracket thingamahoober. Now I'm not sure what the torque on these are supposed to be. Did not find that. But just snug. It's an 8mm, so it's not something you want to put a whole lot of force on. If you're going by the size of the bolt, then 8mm. I think max torque is not much more than the 11 foot-pounds anyway. So this snug should be good. Now I got the first two. Just got to do this rear one here, which is going to be same process. and then do the other 3 on the other side, and then the spark plugs are done. Got the spark plugs all in, got everything tidied back up. Now we have this wiring harness to install. There's 2 branches, an A branch and a B branch. The A branch is going to come back here to this map sensor that is on the intake. That's going to be this connector right here. And pull that clip out, squeeze it. Now, basically, we're just installing this harness in between there. We're kind of hijacking the signal, sending it over to the power control module, and then sending it back through. So here we just we'll take this, and it should only fit in there one way, I would imagine. Yeah. Go in there, push that, and then the other side will connect through. Now there was, before I plugged that in, there was an insert with the wiring harness which shows the correct way to connect that. So it's saying this big piece should face down, and allow that to snap in, and then slide forward, and that snaps like so. Now here we're going to do the same thing. Over here by the throttle body, we're going to go to the other map sensor, pull that, disconnect it, and then it's going to be the same thing. Plug that in, lock it in, and this should go like so. Lock it in, and there we go. So now we have the actual module itself. Got a plug. It had a blank off plate in there to keep everything good. Now I imagine this only fits one way. Yes. So only fits one way, and push it in, lock it in, and this is going to go wherever we find a spot for it, which seems right on top of the fuse block here. Seems to be just as good a spot as any. Alright, now that we have everything connected, still haven't have everything connected, still need to clean everything up, tie up those wires, but before we do so, I'll go ahead, start the engine, make sure when it's on, there are different so we got power on. We got Bluetooth, and we should be able to connect this to Bluetooth so we could change the tune. Okay, it looks like there's 7. I don't know if 0 is considered off, and so there's 6 tunes or 7 tunes, or what that each of those tunes are exactly just yet, but it came and it was set to 4, so we'll try that one out first. Ran a couple of zip ties along the cables just to kind of make sure everything was together. There's no loose wires flapping around in the engine bay. It's not the prettiest job of routing wires, but nothing in this engine bay is really all that pretty anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. The module itself, I just got one zip tie through this hole here in the fender support. Just the fender support actually, and going through there. So this is still loose and can move around to wear things out, so need to find a better place for that. But I didn't want to spend too much time on it, on something that I don't know if we're even keeping yet or not. I'm a little disappointed so far just with the instructions for installing it are good. The instructions as far as using it are a bit lacking. And maybe I'm missing something and didn't see it, so I don't want to say anything yet, even though I just did say something. But I would go take it for a drive with just how it is right now and see if I notice anything different. Then I'm going to contact them. All right, guys. So I talked to the guys over there at Panda Motorworks and got it figured out. There is an app that you got to download and install, and then you have 3 buttons here. You have Eco Mode, Sport, and Race. And then you could go into fine tuning, and then you can go into fine tuning and define which settings you want that to be on. So for Eco, I have it set to 3. For Sport, I have it set to 5. And for Race, I have it set to 7, which is the max. Then you could have a warm-up timer. So when you first start your car and start driving, have it set for 2 minutes. So for the first 2 minutes, it'll just drive regularly. After 2 minutes, it'll switch to whichever mode that you have this set to. And then like I said, if I want to tune it down, you can, or you could just turn it off completely. But yeah, then once you have those set, anytime you want to change it, you can just come in here, turn it to Eco, Race, or power it off and deactivate tuning. So yeah, it's easy to use once you know how to use it. I just didn't know that I needed this app. So now that I got the app and everything kind of explained to me, it makes it a lot easier to use. All right, guys, so finally, I don't know how long it's been. It's been a while since I started this video. Don't even know where I left it off, so this may seem weird that I'm talking, like this might not make any sense. But anyway, it's been a while since I started making this video. I got everything tested. I've been running the power module for a while now. I noticed a difference. At least I think I noticed a difference, but maybe it's just in my mind. So finally was able to find a dyno that was willing to work with me, get this thing tested so we could see, does the power module make a difference, yes or no, definitively. So we're gonna head down there now. All right, so here we are out at Recon Performance in Eddyville, Kentucky. They are going to take care of getting the dyno, and just taking a look at this small little engine going on here in this thing. But yeah, they're getting it strapped down. We're going to do a couple of runs, see what it looks like, and then crank this thing all the way up and see just how much the power, I can't remember what it's called, Panda Works power module, what it gives us, or if it gives us anything. So. So we're looking at the chart here. And in 6th gear, we're running in 6th gear on stock tune 231.76 with 304.79 for max torque. With everything up to 7, we got 261.33 and 335.35 for torque. So 30 extra horsepower and 31, almost 31 extra horsepower or extra torque. So yeah, I would say this does make a difference. All right, guys, we're back in the garage. Sorry, my battery died on me there, and I always have backup batteries on me. And the one time I really needed them, I didn't have any backup batteries with me. I don't know why I didn't take any with me, but I didn't. So we're back in the garage. We got the results. Now, I did shoot a quick video on my phone. Hopefully it'll turn out and I can add it there. But here we're looking at the results. We ended up having to test everything in 6th gear. Now, the reason why 7th gear is the 1-to-1 ratio, and that's ideally the gear ratio the gear that you want to do the pulls in. However, there's a governor on the Bronco, and we were hitting it in 7th gear. So in 7th gear with stock tune, we were hitting the governor, just trying to do regular tests. We went down to 4th gear, 5th gear. We weren't getting up to speed. And at 6th gear, we were able to do the pulls with no problem. We didn't hit the governor like at 100, because as soon as it would get to 100, it would just and stop going from that point when it slammed on the brakes or slammed on the gas. So it would go, and then it would get to red line, almost to red line, and then it would also hit 100 miles an hour, and it just shut down, no more power at that point. So, but when we did it in 6th gear, I think we got up to like 80 miles an hour. It was perfectly fine. So that's what we ended up doing the test at. And with that, we ended up with 231 horsepower and 304 for the torque. Now, when we did 6th gear and it turned everything up to 7, we did end up hitting that limiter again, but I was hitting it just at the same time I was hitting red line in 6th gear. So we hit the governor and it shut down, but I was just about to take my foot off the gas anyway right at that time, because that's right when we were hitting red line as well. So, but with that, we ended up at 261.33 for the power and 335 for the torque. So that is an increase of 30 horsepower and 30, almost 31 or 30 and a half foot-pounds of torque. So another couple of things to note. If you do the math, Panda Motorworks claims that this power module is going to do 20% increase. And if you do the math, these are only 15% increases. But there's a couple of stipulations with that. We could have kept going. We could get that 30% increase. When they did their initial testing, they did so on stock tires. If I had stock tires on there, these numbers would be a lot different. I have those big 36 by 13 and a half R20s with some big old 20-inch wheels. I have a lot more rotating mass. So had I put the stock wheels back on there, I have no doubt that we wouldn't probably get close to the same exact numbers that they got when they did their initial testing. The other thing is the air temperature. I have aftermarket bumper. I have a winch right in front of my intercooler. When they did, so even though we have a fan blowing, it's not blowing directly into the intercooler. It's kind of going over. And if once Mishimoto comes out with their intercooler that's going to move it up in front of the radiator, I think if we reran it then, we'd also get difference. That's what these two different runs here, the 251 and the 261, the 251 is what we ran. We did the run, we did a few test runs, we got everything dialed in, we realized 6th gear was going to be the best gear to run it in. So we ran 6th gear, then we immediately switched it to 7 on the power module and ran it again. When we ran it again, it was the 251 330. We let it set for about 5 minutes, just sitting there talking, and with the engine running, letting everything cool off a bit. And as soon as we, about five minutes passed, we re-ran it one more time after giving everything a second to cool down, and that's when we hit the 261 335. If we would have let it cool for even longer, we probably would have even gotten higher numbers. Or if we had a better airflow directly to the intercooler or put anything on there, we probably could have gotten even higher numbers. But I mean, that wasn't the point of us testing. We weren't trying to get the highest numbers as we possibly could. If we sat there, we could have sat there all day, and I guarantee we couldn't have gotten higher numbers out of it. But that's not real world. That's not what you're going to do in the real world. I wanted to know, in the real world, is this beneficial for your Bronco? Does it make more power? Yes. Does it give you more torque? Yes. It stayed up. It stayed a lot steadier. It's not just a little bit more powerful, but it's steady power. It's not just a big one-time blip and, oh yeah, I got a little bit of power for 1 second. And we measured that and yay. No, it remained higher the entire time. Same with torque. I mean, the torque, you could see it stayed a lot higher. So yes, it is definitely does make a difference. If you're on a stock, if you're running everything else stock, you got stock wheels, stock gearing, everything, you'll definitely notice a difference. If you have a few hundred pounds of extra weight from bumpers and skid plates and everything like I do, and bigger tires with larger rotating mass, basically you're setting, I just set the Bronco back to stock. I might have a little bit more power over stock as I would with a stock configuration without all the add-ons, if that makes sense. Does Panda Motorworks claim of 20% more power, more torque hold up? I would say yes. I didn't hit that 20%, but again, different testing scenarios. And definitely with the bigger wheels and tires on there, that is going to make a huge impact. That's a lot more rotating mass. It's going to affect the way the test comes out compared to if it was run on stock tires. But I still have the Black Diamond tires. If I hadn't have sold them, if I would have put those on there, we would have easily matched. If I had taken the front bumper off and gotten some cool air going straight into the intercooler, we probably could have matched that easily as well. But under normal driving conditions, it still gives a significant boost. So that's it. Yeah. If you're looking for a quick, easy way to get some extra power out of your Bronco, that you can just disconnect and take off of there if you do have any problems. And I was happy to see the dyno results. I actually did prove that it worked. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.